Fireworks when they're not being handled responsibly. Your junk if not properly maintained. Speaking of, code word headliners at checkout on manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. Jake after a trip to White Castle. All of these things can be very lethal, but you know what? It doesn't help us in fantasy football. So why don't we take a look at the most lethal offenses in the NFL? Yo, Headliner Nation, when I'm filling out my fantasy roster, I want players from offenses that are quick, that score fast, that are lethal, and that are gonna put up a ton of points. And if you've been subscribed to the channel, you may remember this video as the most explosive offenses the last couple of years, but we changed it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about the most lethal offenses today. And I've taken several team statistics to try and figure out what offenses are going to be the most lethal in football this year. Hit that like button for me and subscribe if you're new here, because we're diving deep, baby. Yo, first up, let's take a look at the top teams in seconds per play. Because a majority of the time, the faster your offense is moving, the more plays you're going to have and the more opportunities to put up those fantasy points. And while Tampa Bay led the league last year, I don't think that's going to continue in 2023. Having a much different quarterback at the helm is going to really hurt them in that area. Tom Brady is able to move the offense like this. Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, probably not. One team to keep an eye on is going to be the New York Jets, though. They ran plays quite quickly last year with guys like Zach Wilson and Mike White. And even though Green Bay tied for dead last in 31 seconds per play, that could have just been the offense and not Aaron Rodgers. Now that Aaron Rodgers is with the New York Jets and they have a guy that can handle the offense a little bit better, it'll be interesting to see if they keep up this pace of play. It's also crazy to see the San Francisco 49ers so low on this list. Knowing how well their offense operates and how efficient it is, I was actually anticipating them being a little bit higher than that. Will be interesting to see with Brock Purdy if that changes this year. All right. How about yards per play? How many yards are we picking up every time we call a play? And it's no surprise to see the top teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, and Miami in the top 3 spots. But how about those Detroit Lions at number 4? And let me tell you, by the end of this video, you might be thinking a little bit different about this Lions offense. And it's crazy to see a team like the New Orleans Saints so high, considering how inconsistent their offense was at times last season. Now that they toss in Derek Carr, who does tend to drop the ball down the field a little bit quickly, Las Vegas right above them last year. If they can go ahead and push the ball down the field and keep up this pace from last season or even go higher. Indianapolis and Houston were at the bottom of the list last season, but with rookie quarterbacks Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, I have to anticipate that those numbers will pick up for these teams heading into 2023. All right, how about points per play? So then at that point, you know what? If you're not running a ton of plays, at least you're scoring. And if you're scoring, that's honestly all that matters. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo right at the top here. No surprise, San Francisco as well. But look at the Detroit Lions coming in right behind them. One team that actually surprised me that's in the top half of the rankings here is the New England Patriots. I really got to feel like this offense is going to get better this year. They added some more weapons. Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator is a huge upgrade over Matt Patricia. And if Mac Jones can get back to what he did his rookie season, that offense should end up being just fine. And even though Tampa Bay was running a bunch of plays, they weren't scoring, meaning a lot of their drives were probably stopping out. And unfortunately, given the quarterback situation, I don't know if this number will get much better for them. All right, first downs per play, because if you're getting first downs, you're keeping the drive going. If you're keeping the drive going, you're scoring fantasy points. And it is the same teams at the top once again. But let's take a minute to appreciate two teams like Minnesota and Seattle that probably just don't get talked about enough. Minnesota's now got a full season with TJ Hockenson, and they've added Jordan Addison. They should have a stellar offense again in 2023, even if their defense is going to be falling behind once again. And then a team like Seattle with Geno Smith, who really revitalized his career last season, now they've added JSN. You've got Kenneth Walker along with Zach Charbonnet in the backfield, and you've got a recipe for success and quick scoring touchdowns in this offense. All right, we've got a new category in the formula this year because I've added turnover margin per game. And the reason being, even though it's not an offensive statistic, it still does affect the offense, because if you've got a plus turnover percentage per game, you're going to have an opportunity to put up more points and more fantasy points. San Francisco, Philadelphia, and the LA Chargers led the way last season, and seeing Dallas this high doesn't surprise me either, because their defense was tremendous. But for as bad as Detroit's defense was to begin the year, they have one of the highest turnover margins per game at the NFL level, and that's probably part of the reason why their offense was so good in the second half. Cincinnati's defense taking a little bit of a step back in the secondary this season. We'll have to see if they can keep the turnover margin the same. If so, once again, huge upside for everybody in Cincinnati, even if they don't get that many turnovers. It is crazy for a team like Miami that was so good on offense to be negative on the defensive side of the ball, but they have made some adjustments to that defense, and if they can get the ball in the hands of Tua and that offense even more this season, oh man, watch out for that. All right, this portion of the video, before I release all the final scores, I want to hear from you in the comments for a free draft guide. So before you continue on in the video, let me know in the comments right now. Hit the pause button and then tell me which team you think will be the most surprising team and where you think they'll finish in the rankings. If this video gets 750 likes, then I will pick somebody from the comments who answers this question to get a free draft guide. Philadelphia at the top is absolutely no surprise to anybody, and more than likely they will be at the top again this season. But the Detroit Lions coming in with the second best score to tie with Kansas City, oh man, I bet none of you realized it coming into this video. And with the offensive weapons they have added and getting Jameson Williams back in the second half of the season, the sky is the limit for this offense once again, and you should be investing heavily in them. And it is actually quite a surprise that more people don't consider Jared Goff to be a top 12 quarterback. 5 through 11, again, really no surprise for a lot of the teams here, because everybody listed within this area has a lot of offensive superstars that we're looking for on our fantasy team. We know their offense is good. No surprises here. The LA Chargers, though, I do anticipate this number getting better this season, bringing in Kellen Moore to maybe give that offense a little bit of a boost in the play calling, adding Quentin Johnston on the outside, and then hopefully we see a bounce back from Justin Herbert and this team stays healthy. Health is the name of the game. If they do, really it's a top 5 offense. For as well as Miami showed out in several categories, they had low scores in second per play and their turnover margin. How about Atlanta right in the middle? This doesn't seem like a lethal offense, because they're really about just kind of running the football, draining the opposing defense, and trying to keep it in their possession as much as possible. The big thing will be Desmond Ridder. If he takes a big step forward this year and he becomes a legitimate NFL starting quarterback, then this offense should do a much better job scoring at will. Baltimore should be better this year with a full season of Lamar Jackson, hopefully, and some added weapons at the wide receiver position. All right, I'm not going to run through every single team here, because you can see the scores here. We've talked about the categories. It probably makes sense to you, but a couple more things to point out. So now, obviously, we're using 2022 stats, so it's not going to be entirely predictive of 2023. We have different offensive schemes, new quarterbacks, and things like that. But the new quarterbacks is the biggest thing to pay attention to. So if you're taking a look at any of the teams on the lower end of the scale here, we have to think about the change in the quarterback position. Indianapolis, Houston, Carolina, Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. All those teams that finished a lot lower that now have an upgrade at the quarterback position, should hopefully see a little bit of an increase and an uptick in their score here and become a much better offense. But Headliner Nation, I appreciate you all checking out this video. Make sure you hit that like button before you get out of here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I already told you earlier in the video, make sure you leave a comment answering my question. And if we can get 750 likes on this video, I'll pick one of you to get a free draft guide. Peace out, Headliner Nation. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.